Okay, folks, welcome to CallFire's Cloud Call Center webinar. In this tutorial, I'll be going over how to create campaigns, how to upload a list of numbers, how to make calls with that list, and then lastly, how to view the reporting. First thing I'd like to go over is just briefly how our Cloud Call Center product works and the equipment that one needs to actually make calls with the dialer. So here's how it works in a nutshell. There are two pieces of equipment that you need. One is a computer with an internet connection, or perhaps a tablet of sorts. This could be your favorite iPad or your favorite Android tablet. It doesn't matter. And you're going to use that tablet to push buttons on a web page telling the auto dialer what to do. So you'll push one button telling the auto dialer to dial the next number, and another button to end the current call that you are on. And all this is happening because you uploaded a spreadsheet of numbers to our website. That's how CallFire knows who to dial. So you have your computer. Now that you have your computer, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to type in the telephone number belonging to the telephone line that you'll be using to make calls with the dialer. You're going to use that telephone line to actually speak to the leads on the other end of the phone that CallFire is dialing. So you type in your telephone number into your computer. CallFire then sends one inbound phone call to your telephone, and now the magic happens. You're holding that phone to your ear, you're now listening to hold music, and CallFire, through your computer, begins dialing the numbers one after the other. Now, CallFire will continue to dial number after number, and it will stop dialing, and in turn, you will stop hearing the hold music on your telephone once a live person has picked up the phone or once an answering machine has picked up the phone. So the bottom line is this: no more connections to busy signals, no more connections to disconnected numbers. You can get anywhere between 30 to 80 dials per hour. So for those of you who are here who are looking to squeeze out more efficiency from your telemarketers, this is a great solution to do just that. And again, as I'll explain in a little bit, there are no contracts, there are no setup fees, nor are there any monthly minimums. So now that we have a clear idea as to how the auto dialer works, let's learn how to first create an account. If you haven't done so already, you'll start by pressing on the Try It for Free button on the homepage. And then you're going to skip these three boxes right here. Because we want to use the Cloud Call Center product, we're going to click on the blue words register here. And this is the page where we want to be to create our account. So you'll fill out all these boxes here. You can leave the referral code or referred by section blank unless you actually have a referral code, which I don't believe any of you probably do who are attending this webinar. And yes, at the very end of the webinar, I'll explain how to get 100 free minutes with CallFire. So I'm going to go ahead now and log into my account over here. And when I first log into CallFire, I'm going to see a screen that looks something like this. Welcome to CallFire. Let's get started. So there are a variety of products that we offer. The product that we are interested in learning more about today is the lightning fast power dialing tool. So if I wanted to learn more, I could click on the Learn More button. And then after watching this little video, which we don't have to do, I could click on Start Dialing Numbers. And this will ask us to create a new Cloud Call Center campaign. Now in the future, what all of you would do is just go to Campaigns, go to Create New Campaign, select the Cloud Call Center and Auto Dialer product by pressing on the green circle. And then you would scroll down and then select the platform you want to use. Now, this is a great time to talk about pricing with CallFire. There are no contracts, there are no setup fees, and there are no monthly minimums. I'll repeat that because this certainly does bear repeating. There are no contracts with CallFire, there are no setup fees with CallFire, and there are no monthly minimums. All you're looking at paying is just $2, $3, or $4 per hour per person logged into the system making phone calls. That's it, quite frankly. Now you'll notice these three different platforms. Keep in mind that when you create your first campaign, you are not married nor committed to that platform that you've used with your first campaign. In other words, if I created one campaign with the Lite platform, the next time I want to create a new campaign, I can use the Standard or the Pro platform, or I could use the Lite again. It's up to me each time. Now I'm not going to go over all the features one by one that are available in each of the platforms. I will mention that we can interface with most web-based CRM systems, and I'm happy to show you all offline or after this webinar how you can interface us with Salesforce, for example. But let's focus on these options over here that are absent in the Lite platform, but that are present in the Standard and the Pro platform. So the Standard and the Pro platform, by the way, can be configured so that the dialer will dial up to 2 lines at a time with the standard, or up to 4 numbers at a time in the case of the Pro platform. Now, as sexy and as awesome as it sounds to dial more than 1 number at a time from your list, there are some very significant caveats that you all must understand when it comes to dialing more than 1 number at a time. The first caveat is that what happens when all 4 people pick up in the case of the Pro, or what happens if both people pick up in the case of the Lite if you're dialing 2 numbers at a time, or the standard if you're dialing 2 numbers at a time. So if all 4 people pick up in the case of the Pro, 3 out of those 4 calls will be dropped. It's as if we called those other people and just hung up on them. Simple as that. Now, the Federal Trade Commission, they just happen to have a law that they put into place about 2 years or 3 years ago, where they've mandated that anytime a business or a non-exempt organization is making calls to consumers or other businesses, if that organization drops more than 3 out of every 100 numbers dialed, that's a finable violation in the neighborhood of, I think, $5,000 to $10,000 per reported incident. So again, does it make sense to dial more than 1 line at a time unless you're exempt, because you're a political group, a religious group, or a nonprofit. The next thing I want to go over is the machine skip answering machine avoidance feature. Don't activate it unless you are a big fan of and enjoy 5-second delays from the time the lead picks up your phone until you can actually hear the lead's voice. One feature that you might want to take advantage of is the Smart Drop feature. With the Smart Drop feature, what you're able to do is leave a pre-recorded message on that lead's answering machine without having to leave a live message of your own with your own voice. Now, again, there's another caveat here that all of you must be aware of. If you are a business contacting consumers, you must have some semblance of opt-in consent from that consumer, where they've given you permission to leave a pre-recorded message on their answering machine. Understand that opt-in consent is not by any shape or imagination the same as someone not being on the do not call list. Someone's name not being on the do not call list simply means that, hey, you can call them to solicit them or telemarket to them. But opt-in consent means that that customer or that consumer has individually taken the time to reach out to your business and said, yes, I want a call from your business. So again, 2 very different things to understand there. The next thing that you can also activate is call recording, where CallFire records all of your phone calls, which you can then download and listen to at a later time. I'll go ahead and select the Lite platform for this campaign, and I'll press the green circle with the black arrow inside. It's kind of a recurring theme when we're creating campaigns. So now we're on the campaign creation details page. So the first thing that we need to do is give our campaign a name. So because this week we're focusing on the financial services industry, maybe I will call, before I give my campaign a name, let's think of a use case for this product. Perhaps I am in the mortgage industry and I bought a list from a third party for folks who are currently suffering with, a really terrible mortgage. So maybe I'll call this, refinance calls, and I'll put in today's date, which is 6/27/13. So now I've given my campaign a name. That's great. The next thing I need to do is configure the caller ID that I want CallFire to display when my leads pick up the phone. So what I'm going to do is click on the Create One button, or what you all would need to do is do that, press Create One, because my number has already been verified. But in your all's case, you would first need to have CallFire actually verify that you own the number that you want to use as the caller ID. So you'll hover your mouse and then click on the words Create One, then press Verify New Caller ID, type in the caller ID you'd like to use, press Send Verification Code. CallFire will then call you at that number. When that happens, will then be played a code over the phone. You'll type in that code on the computer screen, and then your number will be verified. And then you'll be all set. The next thing I'll do is assign my campaign a passcode. This can be the same one as the one I used to create my account, or I can make it something different, which I'll do. Just make the word CallFire. And the last thing I can also do is activate the transfer option. Now with the transfer option, I'm able to transfer this phone call that I'm making while on the Cloud Call Center to any third party. Why might I want to do that? Let's say the person I have who's making phone calls on my behalf is just a kid I hired off the street who I think has a pretty good telemarketing voice. Now, obviously, that guy doesn't have his license or any sort of a certificate to then offer a quote over the phone to my lead. So once my telemarketer gets a warm lead on the phone, I'll probably want him to transfer that call to me. In that case, I'll go ahead and say yes to the transfer option. and only when my telemarketer transfers calls to me will I be billed that additional 3.5 cents a minute. So I'll press the green circle, and the next thing I'm going to do is enter in a script for my telemarketer. That way he or she knows what he'll be pitching or saying when that lead picks up the phone. I don't have to type in a script. This is optional. I can either type one in or copy and paste one from my Word document. I'll just type one in. And I'll press the green circle. Now this next step is the most critical step of creating a campaign. And this is the creation of the multiple choice disposition questions. So when my telemarketer is making phone calls, I think it's important that I give him a way or a means of somehow tagging or labeling where that lead stands in my sales funnel. So one way that I can, or an easy way rather, that I can tag or label where these leads stand in my sales funnel is by creating, several or perhaps one multiple choice question, and by having my telemarketer then select the answer choice that best corresponds to where that lead stands in my sales funnel. So we're going to actually recreate what we see right over here, or something similar to it. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a container question that's going to house all of our answer choices. So I always like, what happened on the call? And I'll press add. Now what we are going to do is fill that container question with some answer choices, or put differently, some labels that our telemarketer can then use to log where that lead actually stands in our sales funnel or what the next step might be. So one answer choice that I always like is answering machine. And you'll see why that's going to be important in a little bit. I'll press add. The next one I'm going to select or type in is good lead. That means this person was good lead, and I'll hopefully know what to do from there. Or my telemarketer will know what to do from there. The next one I'll add is call back later, because perhaps the decision maker isn't home at that time. Next I'll add not interested. And I'll add wrong number. Now, when I'm making phone calls, my telemarketer will only be able to select from one of these answer choices that we see over here. Now, I'm able to have as many multiple choice questions and answer combinations as I'd like. Just bear in mind that my telemarketer will only be able to mark one answer choice per question. So I like the way this is set up right here. I'll go ahead and press the green circle with the black arrow inside. Before I do that, though, I could also choose to add a free text question. The only difference between the free text questions and the multiple choice questions are that with the free text questions, I am able to type in any answer I'd like in the answer box. In other words, my answer is not constrained to a limited field of answers. I'll go ahead and press the green circle because I don't really need any free text questions. Type my initials and type in I agree. I'll press submit campaign, and we're almost done building our campaign. The next thing we need to do is upload a list of numbers. To do that, I'll press the Add Numbers to Campaign button. I'll browse for a list. Go ahead and open up that spreadsheet. And before I finish uploading this list, there are two questions that CallFire asks me. I'm going to zoom in on my screen just so you guys can see, and girls can see these questions. So the first question that CallFire asks me is, I want to scrub this list for the numbers that I've added to my internal do not call list. What does that mean? So by default, CallFire is not going to scrub your list against the national do not call list, as we indicate right there in red. So what we do mean by that question is that if any of the numbers in this list that we're about to upload also happen to appear in your own CallFire account's do not call list, and those numbers would appear in your own CallFire account's do not call list because when your telemarketer or when my telemarketer has made previous calls using CallFire's Cloud Call Center product, perhaps you spoke to someone who said, hey, thanks for calling, but please add me to your do not call list. If my telemarketer pressed the button in the agent webpage, adding that person's number to my do not call list, if that person's number also happened to appear in the new list I uploaded, CallFire would then scrub those numbers out. So always want to say yes to that question. And we'll want to say yes to the second question. Let's remove duplicate numbers in the column we designate as the dialing column, because let's face it, we don't want to dial someone or call them more than once. I'll then type my initials, and I'll type in I agree. I'll press submit. Here's my spreadsheet. Now, keep in mind that CallFire will only display about the first, I'd say, 5 to 10 letter columns of information in your spreadsheet. Now, one thing that I want you all to focus on, notice how I have the phone number, in fact, the same phone number appearing in 2 different columns. Now, it doesn't matter that the phone numbers are in columns I as in indigo and J like jack-o'-lantern. Those numbers could be in columns C as in Charlie and G like goat. But it's important that they appear twice, and I'll show you why. I'm going to open up a screenshot real quick of the Cloud Call Center interface. Pull that up. Give me a second. There we are. So this is a screenshot of the interface that my telemarketer will be using to make calls. There are the buttons that he or she will be pressing in order to tell the auto dialer what to do. There are the multiple choice questions. There's that do not call button. And here's the information that CallFire is pulling up from that spreadsheet that we uploaded. Now notice that we do have limited screen real estate there. And notice also that we can't see Will Smith's phone number. Well, that's a little odd because CallFire had to dial that number, which was in the spreadsheet, which is how this other information is being displayed. So why is it gone? What happened there? So by default, CallFire strips out the number. It's a security feature that our engineers put in. So in order to avoid having CallFire, just strip out the number and not display anything, just make sure that number appears twice in the spreadsheet. It can be anywhere, but as long as it appears twice in the first 5 to 10 columns, you will be in the clear. So I'll go ahead and select column I as the dialing column. And when the status of this campaign changes from pending to stopped, and when total is greater than 0, I know that my campaign is all set. Okay, looks like my campaign is all set. Status says stop, total is 3, which means 3 numbers uploaded successfully. So let's move on to the next stage of our webinar, which is learning how to make calls with this campaign. The first thing that I need to do is change the campaign status from stopped to running. To do that, I'll press the green circle with the white arrow inside. Now that the campaign status says running, I can now have my telemarketer log into this campaign. Keep in mind that CallFire only charges once your campaign has a status of running and there's a telemarketer logged into that campaign. So let's learn how to log into this campaign. We'll go to the callfire.com homepage. We'll click on the Agents button this time because we want to operate or manipulate or use a campaign. I'd say more operate or use a campaign. So Agents does not refer to, say, a secret agent like 007 or a real estate agent or a insurance agent. It refers to the portion of our website where telemarketers or folks who want to make calls with campaigns that have been built for him or her or them can access them. So I'll press Agents. I'll start by typing in the campaign name, which was Refi. I just type it in, CallFire will pull it up. Okay, there is the bottom refi call 62713. And when I select that campaign, it will be replaced by an ID, which is what I want to have happen. Now the next thing I'm going to do is type in my phone number. This is going to be the phone number belonging to the telephone line that I'll be using to make calls with CallFire. This will not be the phone number that will serve as the caller ID. Remember, I already configured that when I created the campaign in the administration section. So I'll go ahead and type in my number over here to my desk phone. Now, if you all work off extensions, you can just type in a little X and then type in your extension. Next thing I'll do is type in the passcode, which is the word CallFire. I'll type in my email address. This is not my real email address, just a placeholder. And then the next thing I'll do is select some hold music. This is the music that I, as the telemarketer, am listening to in between the dialer making phone calls. My leads don't hear this at all. So I'll go with jazz and I'll press the next button. So now I'm waiting for CallFire to call my phone, and that way my phone will be synced temporarily with the dialer. Go and answer it. Hello? Press pound to continue.
Your agent ID is 5129734.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and type in that ID, and I'll click on Login. There's that hold music right there.
Hello, you've reached the voice mailbox for Beth Mackey. I'm not available to come to the phone right now, but feel free to...
Okay, so I went ahead and took my phone off speaker. So you can use any phone you'd like to log into CallFire. It can be a landline phone, your favorite desk phone, a voice over IP phone. Really doesn't matter. Any phone that has a 10-digit phone number attached to it will be fine. So I'm connected to Beth Mackey. We learned that we're connected to our answering machine. So we can either wait for the beep to leave a live message or leave no message at all. I'll first mark off answering machine here, and I'll choose not to leave a message. In that case, I'll press the next call button, and CallFire is dialing the next number. There's that hold music again, which we're hearing in the background. Take my phone off speaker. So now we're connected to Will Smith. So you can see each time CallFire is just dialing the next number in the list. And because we're being connected to someone, it's stopping the dialing, and it will only resume once we actually tell it to do so. If Will Smith's number was busy, or if Beth Mackey's number was busy, CallFire would continue to dial that number and dial the next number until it actually found a live person. So in the case of Will Smith, I thought he was a good lead. I could simply transfer. Could have my telemarketer transfer him to me. I have my telemarketer type in my number over here, and then press transfer. Now it's a blind transfer, so I'll need to make sure that my telemarketer sends me an email or sends me an instant message or yells across the office telling me he's transferring a call. That way when he presses transfer, I'll know to be ready to accept it. I can also take notes before moving on to the next call. When I'm ready to dial the next number, I'll press on next call. There's that hold music again.
Thank you for call.
Okay, looks like I got Paul Jones. So again, I could take notes here. Maybe this was the wrong number. And I'll press end call to disconnect myself from Paul Jones. And then I'll press next call to dial the next number. And it looks like there are no more numbers left to dial, so I'll go ahead and press OK. And I'll hang up on my phone. So let's move on to the final portion of our webinar, which is understanding the reporting and the help documentation. So if we go back to the campaign dashboard, I see my campaign is finished. There are two reports that CallFire provides. One report shows me the productivity of my telemarketer. To view that report, I can press on the blue name of the campaign, click on the stats tab over here. If I scroll down to the very bottom, I can see how productive my telemarketer was during that dialing session. I can see that my telemarketer was logged into CallFire for 153 seconds. Out of those 153 seconds, 49 of those seconds were actually spent on phone calls. I can identify my telemarketer by the email address. And if I want to see the calls that he or she made during that time, I'll just press on the blue phone number. And there are those calls right there. It says call status, LA means live answer. So if I want to see a detailed report showing me what happened on each call, I'll just click on the word campaigns. And from the campaign dashboard, I'll just press on the the green name of the green box, the green X, looks like the Excel icon. And I can see the duration of each phone call, the call status, LA is live answer. Now, in the case of the Lite platform at $2 an hour, CallFire won't automatically disposition those calls to go to answering machine with a call status of AM or answering machine. So it's up to me to make sure that I have a disposition answer choice that allows for more effective reporting. The only way that CallFire dispositions a call as answering machine for the call status is when you press the Smart Draw button. That's why it's so important that you have an answer choice for one of your disposition questions that says, in fact, you hit your answering machine. Now, all this information can be easily exported off of CallFire by pressing the CSV button or the Excel button, and we can take that data off of your CallFire account and then dump it into a spreadsheet. A couple of other things I want to show you. If you need any help with CallFire, you can always chat with us on chat support, or you can go to help, click on search. And we have written tutorials with screenshots on how to set up these campaigns and also how to upload your numbers. We also have documentation on some things you can do after creating a campaign, like copying a campaign or creating a subset. Let's review both those things now. So I'll go back to the campaign dashboard. Now let's say that I would like to use the same script, the same disposition questions, but now I want to upload a list of new data that I bought. How can I upload that list to a separate campaign without having to build a new campaign from scratch? What we can do is take advantage of the copy campaign function. So I'll put a check in the checkbox next to the campaign I want to copy. I'll go to campaign control and select copy campaign, and then I'll press go. So I'll give this campaign a new name. Maybe I'll call this refi calls, put in next week's date, maybe 7/4/13. I'll press copy. Go ahead and upload some numbers. I know it's the same list for this demo, but just bear with me. Type my initials, type in I agree, select column J, and we're all set. So what took us about 25 minutes to create our first campaign now only took us about 2 minutes to create a copy. And now we have a brand new campaign with a different ID, a different name, and a new list of numbers. So that's definitely a function that you all should easily take advantage of and leverage. Now let's say that I want to call back the folks in the parent campaign, the refi call 62713 campaign, that maybe I didn't reach the first time around. Perhaps I got their answering machine. How could I do that in a streamlined fashion? I can do that by creating what's called a subset. To create a subset campaign, I'll put a check in the checkbox next to the campaign I want to use as my template. I'll go to select an option from campaign control. I'll select create subset, and I'll press go. I will always say yes, use the current campaign format. And I'm not going to select from any of these horizontal dispositions, unless I actually had calls that were busy or no answer. But because I want to call back the answering machines, I'm going to select the answering machine disposition from this vertical set, because the vertical set are the agent entered dispositions, and answering machine happened to be one of them that I had in my disposition list. So I'll press create subset, and there should be one number in there, which there is, and I bet that's Beth Mackey. Let's do a sanity check to confirm. So I'll press the green box, the green X, look at the call records. Lo and behold, it's Beth Mackey. So really cool feature. Let's go to Billing Manager and go to Add Funds. That's how you can make payments to us and add funds to your account. We take debit cards or credit cards. You can also send us a wire transfer, or you can cut us checks too. That's all that I wanted to show you today in our Cloud Call Center webinar, with an emphasis on how the financial services industry can leverage CallFire. To review, we learned how to create a campaign. We learned how to make calls with the campaign we created, how to upload a list. We learned how to view the reporting, and then lastly, we learned where to add funds. Now, in terms of next steps, I'd like all of you to do the following if you haven't done so already. I'd like you all to go to callfire.com, click on Try It for Free, click Register here for Cloud Call Center, fill out that form, and then make sure you send an email to support@callfire.com and put attention demo credit in the subject line, and that's how you all can get access to those 100 free minutes of demo credit. Again, thank you all for taking the time to watch this webinar. We know you have many choices when it comes to evaluating auto-dialing vendors, so thanks for giving us a shot, and enjoy the rest of your day.